Hi everyone. So today I'm going to demo a small backend project I built with Python and FastAPI. So the project is called an issue tracker and it's a REST API for creating and managing issues. It's a simple ticket tracker and each issue has a title, description, priority and status. I have deployed it on render and the code is on GitHub. So this is the repo for the application and I have also deployed it on render. So before we get into the live demo, I'll walk through how it works. Let's get into the structure. So the project is split into modules where the routes handle the API endpoints and the schemas define validation with Pydantic and the storage reads and writes all the issues into a JSON file. So there's also a custom middleware that I've written which adds a response time header. So which has been invoked in the main.py as you can see, and course is configured so the API can be called from a front end later. All 5 CRUD operations are implemented: create, read, update and delete, and it's versioned under a path that is mentioned here, API/v1/issues. So let's get into the live demo. So here, this is the interactive API docs page that FastAPI generates automatically. Anybody can test the API from here without post one. So in the real world, obviously, this would be protected under an auth wall. So for the purposes of this small demo, it's out in the open. Now first let's list all the issues. So here there's a get method, and when I click on execute, we can see that there are 2 issues that are already there. So these are issues that have been loaded from the JSON data from my GitHub. Now I'll create a new issue. So let's get into the post method and let me say live demo issue, and the title can be, let me click on execute. You can see that the response has been returned. The API validates the input that we have given. For example, the title has to be at least 3 characters and assigns an ID, which you can see here, which is unique for each issue, and a default status of open. So you can observe that we only gave the title, description and priority, but the ID and the status were generated. So now let me fetch the issues again, and you can see that the new issue has been created. Right now, all the issues are stored under in the local machine. I stored it under a folder called data inside issues.json. When it is deployed on a server, in the server's direct file directory, a similar data folder will be created and the issues will be loaded and saved into that particular file. So right now we cannot see the third issue that we created for the purposes of this demo here because this is a local GitHub version, and on the server which is on render, inside their file directory the file will be created. And you can also update the issue. Let me put in, yeah, let me go for the update issue here. And first we'll need to grab one of the IDs from the issues. So let me just grab one of the older issues that we had created and then click on try it out and then enter issue, copy paste it. And then what we can do is, if we do not need to change anything else, Let us just delete that particular entry. So right now I do not want the status to be changed, so let me delete that, and I'll change the priority from low to medium, and then I'll change the description to say that live demo issue update. I do not need to change the title, so let me just delete that entry as well. So whatever entries I delete without changing, they will not be touched. Only the ones that I made an edit to will be modified. So once I execute, we receive the response body, and there seems to be a small issue here. Illegal trailing comma before end of object. So now we can see that this is a nice way to debug, which means here after the medium, I think there is no need for a comma. So let me just execute. Now we can see that the response body returns a updated issue. So now if I go back to issues and execute again, you can see that the second issue description was updated and the priority was changed from low to medium. This is about the update, and we can also delete an issue. So if I just copy paste the same issue ID and then click on execute, you can see now in the get issues that there are only two issues now. The second issue which was in the list is now deleted, and we can also get an issue by its ID. So if I try to fetch one of the properties that I deleted, it says that the response status is 404, issue not found. So we can see that this works. Let me just try to fetch an existing issue by its ID. Perfect. This works. So now you can also see that every response also includes a X process time, which means it's a custom header showing how long the request took. So this was added through a middleware. So to recap, this was a full CRUD REST API with input validation, structured code, JSON persistence, and it's deployed on render. The tech stack is FastAPI, Pydantic, and UVCon. So the next step for this would be to wrap uh, this entire documentation and render it on a front end layer. And we could also swap the JSON storage for a real database. So that is it for this demo. Thank you for watching.